Hello. Okay, so as promised in the previous video, I figured I would discuss my history on YouTube because why not? I think it's pretty interesting personally, and I don't know. I just stuck the pen in my mouth. I don't usually do that, but anyway. So my history with YouTube probably I want to say it was April 2007 because we'd moved September of 2006, so it had to have been then. And I was over a then friend's house, and she pulled up the Evolution of Dance video. Maybe it was late March, but I loved the video. I didn't even know what YouTube was at that point, and if you haven't seen the video, for one, how haven't you? And two, watch. It's incredible. It's the most amazing video I think I've ever seen. And that moment I was kind of captivated by YouTube, and over the next couple of days it kind of just grew on me. It was like, well, wow, I mean, look at these people. There's talent here. There's excitement. There's also, at this point, it was the Super Bowl. I want to say 2007 when I started getting more into music. So I was also using it to hear music and look up people's, like favorite songs in a certain time period. So it kind of culminated together and made YouTube this desirable place for me to be. And so on April 6th of 2007, I want to say, I got my first YouTube account, and I was probably too young for it anyway. But the point was, I made one, and I put up some crappy videos, and like I discussed my 10 favorite songs at that point, and like just to give you an idea of how bad it was, my favorite song at that point was Midlife Crisis by Faith No More. Like, I mean, that is how, I mean, that was 5.5 years ago. My life has changed so much ago. I mean, that was a third of my life ago. I mean, really, just about. Probably more like a quarter, but point is I mean, I've been on YouTube forever. I mean, YouTube started when, like, 2005, so I've kind of been in on the whole thing for a while. And this was also the point where I was also getting into music, but I was also getting into Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And the idea of making it big on YouTube was this just huge idea, and it kind of became like my dream for a while. I wanted to be big, and so I got my friend on board with it. He was in the San Andreas, and he had been showing me videos on YouTube. I didn't even know I was on YouTube at that point, because again, I mean, I was like 13. I'm gonna say stupid because I kind of was. I was probably 12, and so I used this opportunity, and I convinced him to get an account. And so we both had YouTube accounts, and I was Mudlup49 back then, and I made some new friends. I don't know how, but somehow I managed to actually get like popular within the scene. I don't want to say popular, but I mean, all I was doing was looking for non-existent myths, and because I'd watched so many videos at this point, because again, I was all about YouTube for a while. Because of that, I knew what I was talking about, and in general, the videos were, pretty decent. I mean, I was using a camera that was my mom's, and I had a stack of books and DVDs and such, and it was stacked up against the TV because I wanted to be able to record the TV, just the TV. And it just, YouTube itself changed my life for a while. And I mean, I convinced all my friends to get one because, I wanted this. I didn't even have a Facebook at this point. I don't even think Facebook was around, and I never got into MySpace. YouTube was the social networking site for me. It was everything I wanted. I mean, back then, friends actually meant something. Now they're contacts. I mean, when you gained a subscriber, I remember gaining subscribers and I would lose my mind because YouTube was this big thing. It kind of did take over my life. And that's probably a bad thing for me to even admit, but it kind of, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and accredit YouTube to part of the reason why I don't do drugs now. Part of the reason I don't do much of anything. I mean, the good, the bad, everything. It just YouTube took everything over. And when I was originally making the San Andreas videos, I was getting hundreds of views on each video, and eventually at some point I just kind of lost interest in it. I was doing myth videos and I got to like part 5, and I looked for the Loch Ness Monster in the game, and so I kind of just stopped. I wasn't interested in that, and at that point, I want to say, I mean, if it was 2007, so it was probably maybe around like, it was probably 2008 actually, because 2007 I got a 360 for Christmas. My friend got a PS3, and we kind of just took different paths at that point. But I remember because there was a YouTuber like GTA Maniac 1397 or something. It was something really silly, and he got like a PS3 and he had GTA 4, and for a while that was interesting, but there was no myths, and I lost interest in 4 really fast. Point of the whole story here is that it was probably maybe like February of 2008, and I stopped making San Andreas videos. I lost all interest in it, and I wanted to do wrestling videos, so I assume at that point, I don't even remember what happened in wrestling at that point, but it kind of just became my goal to, do these. And somebody commented, a subscriber at that point, and they were like, well, I mean, you put up these San Andreas videos, and now you're putting up wrestling videos, where you're talking about wrestling. And if you think about it, I mean, it is completely different. On one side of the token, I was playing a game that involves, shooting people and running over prostitutes, as everybody likes to think. And then the next day, I was putting up a video about, why wrestling wasn't that exciting that week. And I can see where the problem arose, so I made a new account called Mudlup48. And before I even continue, Mudlup is, I don't know what to call it, but it's a combination of Mudkip and Piplup. So it is a Pokemon reference, because my friend and I were into Pokemon at that point, and that's why he became Torchim49, because Torchic and Chimchar, and I just like Mudlup because, it's got the and the consonants in it. And 49 is 7 squared, because 7 is a lucky number. And when I made the second account, I needed a number that wasn't 49, and I didn't want to change my name completely, because I wanted people to be able to get to each channel quickly. So I dropped one number and went to 48, because I was obsessing over 8 at that point. And see, it's funny looking back, because my life was so weird back then. But the point is, that's how the name came from, and YouTube wrestling community is something that you can come in really easily and get a little niche, little environment going, but at the same point, you can't really break to mainstream success. I mean, Spinnernet1 is the example of a successful YouTube wrestling commentator, and he gets maybe like thousands of views on each video. So I mean, at that point, that was what I was going for. It was the next logical step. I mean, I was getting hundreds, thousands is the next, thing. But you lose interest when things aren't improving. They kind of stabilized, and then I believe the camera broke. And at that point, I couldn't do it. I had no camera, I had no way of getting anything. So I believe that was when I made my Arctic P account. I also had a GTA SA Takeover account and a GTA SA Takeover Bloopers account. And both of those kind of just, I don't know what happened to those, but the whole idea kind of went sour real fast. It was basically like, I'm going to stay in this spot and I'm going to cause hell. And that was the idea behind the series. And then if I'd last like 10 minutes, I would take over that part of town, like the gang wars in the game. But I mean, it just, believe it or not, people actually liked it, and the bloopers surprisingly actually did well. And So at that point, I had like an Arctic P account. I don't even remember what I put up on that account. I think I was just trying to get popular again, and so I probably did something stupid at it. Honestly, I don't remember because I kind of went through that account really fast, and Arctic P was another Pokemon thing. Articuno and Caterpie. I believe it was Caterpie. And then it was 09 because it was in like 2009 when I made the account. And I still use that name occasionally, and just Arctic P never really kind of flowed off the tongue. And it's about at this point that my 360 red ranged, and so I went back to PS2, so I probably put up San Andreas videos, and probably didn't put up that many videos altogether. And my biggest regret in all of YouTube is that I deleted my original accounts. So that month up 49 account where I was getting hundreds of views in days, and I probably could go back if I didn't delete it, and I would probably have thousands of views, maybe tens of thousands of views. I don't know, I'm just, you know what I mean? Again, that was 5 years ago. I was one of the first people there. So I probably would have quite a sum of views now. And I deleted the account. I deleted all the videos first, and then I deleted the account. Horrible mistake. Never do that. And I make that mistake consistently. Because I want to say on Arctic P, no, it was Are You a Fail, which I made afterwards. So on that account, I was doing an Ocarina of Time walkthrough, because Ocarina of Time is my favorite game. And I was doing it on the computer, because I just figured out about ROMs and emulators. And I made it to the Water Temple, and I don't know if anybody here has ever played the Water Temple on a computer, but there's a part after you get the long shot where you have to shoot an arrow at the switch, and then long shot over to it. And when you do, you have to do it really fast. But the issue is that with the keypad, you know, up, down, left, right on the computer keyboard, you can't control it as well as you could with a controller. And I didn't know about the key skip. So I had put up like 50 videos at this point, and I stopped. I couldn't get past. And, you know, at this point, that was, what, the 6th dungeon in the game? Not counting the Ice Cavern. So I just stopped. I dropped the series altogether. It had to stop. And I raged and deleted all the videos and then put up a new video saying, this is why none of my videos are up, explaining it. And I believe that video is still up. And I've kind of stuck with that account since, with Are You a Fail and the month up 48. And really, I mean, just on this account, I mean, I don't even remember what I started with. I'll scroll and I'll check real fast. Oh, this was my music account. And then when I started the Call of Duty videos, because I didn't get into Call of Duty until pretty much Modern Warfare 2 came out, and I got in the World at War because of Nazi zombies, because my friend Jeff, Torchum49, as he was originally called, his birthday is in August, so I got into World at War on August 15th. So what was that, like 2009, 2010 maybe? Point is, I got in really late on that, and I got really into it because, excuse me, I got really into that because, I don't know, something clicked in me, and I was like, this is great. And I started playing multiplayer, and keep in mind, everybody was playing Modern Warfare 2 at this point. And if you've ever played World at War, you know that the game isn't really all that balanced. It kind of leans towards the MP40. And every Call of Duty game has its overpowered weapon, but it was insanely overpowered. And Call of Duty in general just took me off YouTube for a while, and my main complaint with that was that the MP40 in general was just so overpowered. And me being the idiot I was at that point, I didn't even notice it was overpowered. I was using other guns trying to do good. And I can still remember my KD was 0.59, 0.6 in that area. And at that point, you know, it's frustrating. But at the same point, I mean, I look back on those times and I had so much fun on such a broken game. Everybody talks about Call of Duty 4 being the best Call of Duty. And it's like, you know, for me, it was World at War. Because, you know, it was the game that got it all started for me. And YouTube says I can go over, I point here because it tells me about recording time. It says I can go over 15 minutes. It's probably like over here. So I'm gonna go with it as long as it takes just to knock this right out. Home run, hit a winning stand. A guarantee and not a promise. Anyway. And so Call of Duty kind of took me off YouTube was my point. And I can still remember, I mean, like, it didn't even occur to me to connect the two. I just assumed, nobody's doing that on YouTube, because at that point, I mean, it was stuff like, myths and, more myths and blowing shit up. So it never really occurred to me that, you could be on YouTube looking up how to get better at the game. And when I finally got Modern Warfare 2, I was still on my 360. And my KD was 0.9 in that game where anybody can really do good. And I remember being happy about that because I'd gone up a 0.3 difference. And in reality, I mean, I really liked the game. And I went back to World at War because my main goal was I wanted to get all the achievements because I don't like that they're sitting there. And I've gotten all Platinums except for Modern Warfare 3, and I haven't gotten Black Ops 2 yet, so I haven't on there, but Modern Warfare 3 because my PS3 got wiped, and I refused to go through it again, but so I was playing through World at War on Veteran one night, and it was during summer, so it was probably July 2010, maybe. No, that seems about right, because that summer my friend Joanna and I hung out every night, and she came over and she was like, "Are you gonna come outside?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to." At that point, I think I'd beaten maybe the 4th mission on Veteran, and that was a big deal in that game because it is so hard. And I played one match online, and it was on Nightfire. I'd bought the map packs. Because, I was into the game. And I came back in, and maybe it was 2 hours later, and the 360 at that point, I had a break, and I don't know why, and I turned it on, and it red ringed on me. And that just killed it. At that point, I was done. I couldn't handle playing it. It was broken beyond repair, in my opinion. And they're all like, "Well, you can send it away to get it fixed." And I'm like, it shouldn't need to be fixed. And to anybody who has a 360, this is nothing against the console. Honestly, I enjoyed the 360. Maybe I enjoyed the game, but it shattered me. I was just like, I'm done. I can't deal with this. I stopped. I got rid of it. A friend of mine a friend of a friend of mine, so a mutual friend. Not a mutual friend, an extended friend, a friend of a friend. I don't know what you'd call it, but they were like, "Oh, well, I can fix it." And actually, it was my friend's brother, and he was like, "Oh, I can fix it." And he used to do a towel trick, and so it worked for a while, and he basically bought it off me for $20, which was dumb on my part, but at that point, I didn't want it anymore. I felt betrayed by the console, and I don't regret this. I felt very passionate about it, because at that point I was like, you know what, I'm done. My friend had a PS3, if you remember that from earlier in the story, and his had no problems, and my 360 red ringed on me. So at that point, it was, for the next half a year, I was like, I'm getting a PS3. And this all ties into the YouTube story because at that point, Call of Duty was out of my life, and YouTube kind of slipped its way back in. And when it slipped its way back in, I was able to actually enjoy it, and I connected the two. And I believe at this point I ran into, I didn't run into, but I found people like XJaws, and one day I found Grizz. I didn't even know who he was. I mean, can you imagine how weird it is looking back? I ran into this video of Grizz on Wasteland on Modern Warfare 2, and he's sniping in that. At that point, I'd never seen anybody sniping well, And I mean, it's Grizz, so he was quick scoping, and he was talking about how he like lost weight or something, and it's just so funny to look back on it because it's like, you know, I was watching Grizz's video, not even knowing who he was. I was like, wow, look at all these views. And then, in hindsight, it's like, well, of course he has that many views. I mean, it's great. But point of all this is that I ran into the YouTube, gaming community again, and when I originally made the Mudmub48 account, it was originally about that. The Are You a Fail account became about modifying music, and that stopped around May of 2011. Probably when I started. No, it was probably May 2011 because it was at that point that the PSN went down. When I was supposed to be enjoying Black Ops, and it went down for like 3 months. And so my focus shifted from music to Call of Duty. So I switched accounts. It probably was around the time that I made this account. And so I switched, focuses, and I had a new camera. My sister had a new camera, which she got from her birthday that year. So I was using her camera to record videos. But let me put this in perspective. When I first came on YouTube, I mean, I could get hundreds of views. And now, getting double-digit views is a success. Not triple-digit, not quad-digit, double digits. Because I will put up a video and it'll get like 3 views. And I can't deal with it. It bothers me a lot. Because, I think back and I'm like, if I would have kept that original YouTube account, I mean, it's the same name, except one number is different by 1 digit, and I put the in front of it, and I can't reactivate it because it's gone. I don't even know what email address I used with it. That's how bad it is. But I was getting hundreds of views back then. And looking back on it, it's like, why would I have ever left that? I had everything. And I left it because I didn't want people bothered by my wrestling videos. They could have just dealt with it. Point of the whole story is that I've been on YouTube forever. And I love YouTube. It's always kind of been there. And because I mentioned Call of Duty and KDs, my KD for World at War on 360 was 0.6, and then a few months later when I got Modern Warfare 2, it was probably 6 months later at my birthday that year, I managed to work at my KD up to 0.9 on Modern Warfare 2, and then when my 360 red ranged and I stopped playing for a while, I started playing the PS3 over at my friend Jeff's house because I wanted to play the game again. I missed it. And so when I finally got the game back, when I finally got the PS3 and the game, my KD for World at War is, I want to say it's like 1.5, but it's because I don't really play it that much anymore. When I do, I play free-for-all, because it's much easier to get 8 people who aren't hacking into a lobby than 12 people who aren't hacking into a lobby, because that game has gotten hacked. And on Modern Warfare 2, I want to say my KD's like 1.18, and it fluctuated a little bit, because there was a point where I was going up to 1.2, and then it would drop a little bit, and then it would go up, and then it would drop. So it's probably at about 1.19, and my Black Ops KD ended up at 1.45, but I don't count that as my true KD, because on that game I started experimenting with other game modes. I started playing like Domination for a little bit, and so my Team Deathmatch KD is 1.6. And other people play, Domination and such to raise their KD, and I lowered my KD playing it because I have this insane issue with playing the objective too hard. And I regret that a lot. But and then on Modern Warfare 3, my KD peaked at, I want to say it was like 1.3. Yeah, I think it's like 1.34 now, which makes sense. I don't know how people get so good at it. I lose my patience with it real fast. And Modern Warfare 3 just irritated me overall. The game just... There was like a month at the beginning when I enjoyed it. It was probably... Yeah. Because it came out on Tuesday, and I convinced my friend to pre-order it for me. My friend at school, Ray. And so he pre-ordered it for me. I'd saved up lunch money because I wanted the game that bad. And I saved up lunch money and got it. But he kept it until like that Friday. No, it was Thursday. So it probably was about a year ago today when I finally got Modern Warfare 3. And I don't know why I mentioned this. It's just, it's fun looking back. It really is. Because, I think back to World at War on the 360 and it's like, God, I must have sucked so bad. I remember looking at the challenge for getting like 3 attack dogs and going, how am I gonna do this? And then when my friend was telling me about getting nukes on Modern Warfare 2, I was like, how? How? 25? But of course, when you're using, Harrier, Chopper Gunner, or AC-130 nuke, it's a lot easier to get to it. And in general, he camped. So, it kind of balances itself out. But everybody camped to get nukes. So, not everybody, but, the people who are human camped to get nukes. I don't even know what else to say at this point. It was supposed to be a video about YouTube, and it ended up being about Call of Duty. And I keep checking the clock, that's why I keep looking down there. And then I look at the floor over there, because I don't know why. And then occasionally I swing the pen around. I don't know why I'm swinging the pen around, I have this issue where I can't sit still. And I like to obsessively do stuff while I'm sitting. And I don't think it's ADD or ADHD, I just think it's human nature to want to be doing something at all given times. But anyway, this is going to end up being a 30-minute video. I'm just going to talk for 3 more minutes, just to hit 30 minutes, so I can say it's my longest video ever. And it probably won't ever be matched. But, speaking of which, I go over this all the time. But if you're enjoying what I'm talking about and want to hear me talk more, I'm not saying sub. I'm saying comment telling me how to get an easy cap to record. Oh, I will have Black Ops 2 within maybe a week. My mom pre-ordered it for me, and she lives like an hour away, so I convinced her to meet me sometime next week when she's off, and to buy it, and then we'll spend time together, and then when I get dropped off, all the time in the world. But anyway, so I will have it like next week, and if somebody could help me get a job, entry-level positions that aren't fast food, I cannot stress that enough. I don't want to do fast food. I've applied at GameStop, but all GameStop seem to only hire assistant store managers and store managers. Plus, I hear they make minimum wage. How do you make minimum wage at GameStop nowadays? I could understand like 20 years ago, but at this point, games are so mainstream. Really, how do you only make like $7.50? But point of that is I did the math, and a year working there, paying $50 a week to my dad because I need help paying bills, I would end up hitting $9,600-ish for my money. That's how much money a year I would make. And then I'd have to save that up for driving school so I can actually get my license, a car, and I would like to chip in and pay gas. And then at some point I would also like to get an actual, like an HD PVR, so that way I can actually record in HD. Yeah. And I want to get everything bought within a 4-year time span. So, and then at some point I would like to go to college when I find out what I want to do. Anyway, it's been 30 minutes, so if you've watched this long, rate, comment. Actually, it's a rate, comment, and then sub is probably there. Or maybe it's there. It's probably there. Or share if you want. I really don't see why anybody would share a 30-minute video of some guy talking about nothing, really. But point is, thank you for watching. I mean that genuinely and sincerely. I mean, I wouldn't have watched my 30-minute talking, but if you have watched this point, I mean, you've clearly been interested. So you might as well click like or dislike or comment or my iPad's about to die. Or sub something. And honestly, if you tell me what to talk about down there, I'm thinking about doing a weekly series where I do a video response so I can mooch off other people's popularity. So, if you want to, I mean, you can suggest a video down there that I can video response, preferably one that doesn't have many views, and I'll put it up maybe Saturday. We'll see. And my videos will probably come up late at night because I don't like the idea of talking and other people hearing me upstairs. Yeah, see, like. So I'm probably only going to record at night, simply because it's not as awkward. Plus, I have a nephew in the house, and if he comes down during a video, I really don't want to be interrupting the video. So I mean, if you want to, you should leave a comment or like or sub something just to give me some inspiration. And I don't know if it wrote like up there. I'm honest, I'm testing at this point, so don't hold it against me. But it's been 32 minutes, so thanks for viewing. Bye.